In Peru, citizen demonstrations continue demanding a new constitution and the release of former President Pedro Castillo. Dina Boluarte's government decreed a state of emergency for 30 days across the country. The Cuban Parliament honored the 18th anniversary of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America People's Trade Treaty. The main leaders of the regional integration mechanisms took part in the event. And in Qatar 2022 World Cup, Mbappe's France reaches the final after defeating Morocco 2-0, setting the stage for a heavyweight match with Messi's Argentina. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The Peruvian government decreed a state of emergency for 30 days while popular mobilizations continue throughout the country. On Tuesday, the government informed the military is intervening in the national road network and the main strategic points of the country, such as airports and hydroelectric plants. In view of this, the social sectors denounced the militarization of the country due to the increase of protests demanding the release of former President Pedro Castillo and the closing of Congress. In declarations to the press, Otarola, head of the Ministry of Defense, indicated that the Council of Ministers had decided to take this measure in one of its sessions and that it had previously declared the measure in some regions of the country. Peru's Public Prosecutor's Office requested on Tuesday night 18 months of preventive detention against former President Pedro Castillo, only a few hours before the deadline for Castillo's preliminary detention. The judiciary has now 48 hours to schedule a hearing on this request, made as part of the investigation against Castillo for the alleged crime of rebellion. The former president called his followers to demonstrate after 12 p.m. local time at the Special Operations Headquarters in Lima. We continue in Peru. A group of citizens gathered outside the Special Operations Headquarters declared a national insurgency. The action comes following the government's declaration of a state of emergency across the country. Demonstrators also demanded the release of former President Pedro Castillo and the closing of Congress. At the same time, citizens denounced the security forces' repression, which so far has left 8 people dead. Executive Vice President of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, presented the draft annual budgets of the nation for 2023 to the National Assembly. In her address to Parliament, Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez explained that more than 77% of the resources foreseen in next year's budget are earmarked for social investment, as well as for mitigating the risks generated by climate change. During his speech, Rodriguez announced the strengthening of the private sector and projected a double-digit national growth. At the same time, she denounced the attempts of sectors adverse to the Bolivarian revolution to economically destabilize the country by promoting speculation in the price of the dollar. In the same line, she denounced the effects of the blockade imposed by the United States on the people of Venezuela.
Every bank, where there is a dollar, a euro of Venezuela in the world, has orders from the U.S. Treasury Secretary's Office of FAC not to mobilize those Venezuelan resources. The U.S. government not only has all this network of illicit and illegitimate sanctions, but through extortion, bribery, and threats has led to what in technical terms is called an overcompliance of the sanctions. An overcompliance is what keeps the resources of Venezuelan women and men blocked.
Venezuela's Executive Vice President stated that the country reported a double-digit growth in the last quarter of 2021 and the 4 quarters of 2022.
Within the framework of a blocked economy, but in a pandemic, worsening our situation, Venezuela is starting to take the first steps to get back on track. With a growth that exceeds double digits, and we have already had 4 quarters with double-digit growth. And I can responsibly say here that in the third quarter and the fourth quarter of 2022, we will also have double-digit growth.
With a call to boost the economy and increase popular participation, President Miguel DiazCanel closed the 10th session of the National Assembly of the People's Power of Cuba. DiazCanel stressed that he accepts these mechanisms with responsibility and with the conviction of its importance for the strengthening of the institutionality. The Cuban leader assured that accountability at all levels is a system that must be perfected, systematized and developed with rigor before the people, with transparency and as a way to optimize the work of management in the search for results of greater impact on society. The President also referred to the broad legislative exercise that has been favored so that, in the shortest possible time, laws are enacted to benefit the people. Cuban President Miguel DiazCanel emphasized that the session favored legislative work aimed at enacting laws in favor of the population.
Comrades, we've promoted the broadest legislative exercise so that in the shortest possible time we can enact the laws that develop the principles of the Constitution. This legislature is the best expression of its exercise because of a high number of laws approved in each of its sessions, highlighting the process that led to the approval of the Family Code, the referendum, after a broad popular consultation.
Likewise, Miguel DiazCanel reiterated his support to Venezuela and thanked the collaboration of the South American nation in face of the adversities that the Caribbean island has had to deal with during 2022.
We've maintained a close political cooperation with the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. We reiterate our firm support to the Bolivarian Revolution and to the Bolivarian Civic Military Union presided by our brother Nicolas Maduro Moros, who I thank for the timely and reiterated Venezuelan support to face the accidents and disasters that have hit us this year.
Let's take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account at teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All the stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the South. Cuba's National Assembly of People's Power paid tribute to ALBA-TCP on the 18th anniversary of its creation with the participation of heads of state and government of the multilateral organization. The event took place in the midst of the 6th extraordinary session of the Cuban legislative body. During the meeting, officials commemorated the 18th anniversary of the regional mechanism promoted by the then presidents of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez, and Cuba, Fidel Castro, as a response to the free trade area for the Americas, a project sponsored by the interests of the United States in the region. Likewise, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro declared that the organization is a space for the welfare of the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean.
And this is what we permanently vindicate, the need for our space that was born as an anti-neoliberal, anti-capitalist space to truly retake the impulse of the great projects that had a huge impact not only on the lives of our peoples, but also on the lives of millions of the most humble men and women in the Latin American and Caribbean continent. Today we are here, the governments of the peoples that represent the progressive and revolutionary vanguard of Latin America and the Caribbean.
During the session, the head of the Venezuelan state reiterated that ALBA-TCP members must remain united to prevent foreign interference within their nations.
We need to be more and more united for action, as Master Simón Rodriguez used to say, to help each other as peoples, to be able to count on each other's hands and shoulders. ALBA must keep demonstrating with facts that it is an alliance for development, an alliance for peace, an alliance for equality, for progress, a vanguard alliance. Why are we being attacked? Just because we are in the vanguard.
On Wednesday, at least 4 migrants died when a small boat heading for British shores from France capsized in the freezing waters of the English Channel. Lifeboats, helicopters and rescue teams working together with the French and British navies responded to the incident. Immigration to Britain organized by human smuggling gangs has become a priority issue for Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's government. Local media reported that 43 people have been rescued. Despite the freezing temperatures, more than 500 migrants have made the dangerous journey in small boats since the weekend alone. More than 40,000 have arrived from France this year to Britain seeking for asylum. The Federal Statistics Office in Germany reported annual inflation rate dropped slightly to 10.0% in November from 10.4% in October. This is the third straight month of double-digit annual inflation in the country. Despite the slight drop in benchmark inflation, energy and food prices were still 38.7% and 21.1% respectively higher in November than they were in the same month last year. Federal Statistics also confirmed that the harmonized index of consumer prices, an indicator of inflation and price stability from the European Central Bank, increased by 11.3% year-on-year in November. In Brussels, energy ministers from the European Union remain divided over a gas price cap after more than 10 hours of talks on intervention in the new natural gas market. The European Union has been struggling for months over key issues such as whether to cap gas prices, how to do it, and by how much. Following the energy ministers' meeting on November 24th, the ministers met again in an attempt to reach a consensus on these issues before the Bloc Summit scheduled for this week. After the meeting, German Minister for Economic Affairs and Climate Action, Robert Habeck, said that the event failed to resolve all the issues as the parties were still unable to reach an accord. On Tuesday, one person died, dozens were injured, and 2 were missing after tornadoes tore through swaths of several south-central U.S. states. According to Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office in Louisiana, a young boy was found dead after a tornado touched down south of Shreveport City. About 20 people were injured in Farmerville, Louisiana, with multiple reports of damages on Tuesday night. In northern Texas Grapevine, a tornado injured 5 people and damaged businesses. Another 2 people were wounded in Texas Wise County, as reported by the County Emergency Management Office. On Tuesday afternoon, 5 tornadoes were confirmed across northern Texas, and a dozen may have occurred according to the National Weather Service. They are part of a massive winter storm system pummeling the Rockies and the northern Plains states, with more than 10 million people on the winter weather warnings or advisories. The severe weather threat will continue into Wednesday and Thursday, as the southern United States is bracing for heavy rains and northern states face blizzard conditions, impeding travel and threatening power outages, according to the Weather Service. More news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the south. The first meetings of heads of states of Turkey, Serbia and Turkmenistan closed with the signing of a number of agreements on the depend of strengthened integration in the city of Turkmenistan. The leaders of Turkey, Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan agreed to improve cooperation in several areas, in particular energy and goods transport. After the trilateral summit, Turkish Foreign Minister Mevlut Cavusoglu reported that the cooperation will also contribute to the prosperity and stability of the neighboring countries with the agreement signed in the areas of trade and customs. The diplomat further stressed that the relations between the 3 nations' history, beliefs and cultural heritage dates back several centuries. The government of Syria denounced the support of the Netherlands to terrorist groups in the Arab nations since 2011. The executive in Damascus demanded the Netherlands authorities to give explanation for their interference. According to the Syrian government, the report issued last Monday on the non-lethal aid program in Syria shows the involvement of the European country in the promotion of terrorist groups in the national territory. Syrian authorities described the situation as a violation of international law and the resolutions of the United Nations Security Council on the fight against terrorism. 41 years after the Israeli occupation of the Golan Heights, its inhabitants reclaim their Syrian identity.
Israel captured this territory from Syria during the Six-Day War of 1967 and worked to change its geographic and demographic characteristics. On December 14, 1981, the Israeli parliament passed the so-called Golan Law with the aim of annexing this territory. The decision was rejected by the United Nations Security Council by adopting Resolution 497, which considers the Israeli decision null and void and without legal effect at the international level. The Golan Heights is a Syrian territory of 1,860 square kilometers, located about 60 kilometers southwest of Damascus. The Golan geographic position is of great importance, and therefore it has been a transit area for convoys, armies, and peoples since ancient times. 41 years have passed since Israel took this decision. However, the villagers reaffirmed their commitment to the Syrian Arab identity and their resistance against the occupation forces and their aggressive practices. In the occupied Golan, the Israeli army extended its absolute control over water resources, set up about 2 million lethal mines, 76 minefields, and transformed several sites into military zones.
France set up a heavyweight World Cup final against Argentina after an action-packed 2-0 semi-final victory on Wednesday. Fullback Hernandez stretched high after 5 minutes to hook in the first goal. Morocco, disrupted by injuries, the two key defenders, recovered to cause no end of problems, with Hugo Lloris brilliantly saving Jawad El-Jamek's overhead kick. However, Morocco could not create a clear chance for the equalizer and were unable to extend the astonishing run that included victories over Belgium, Spain and Portugal and made them the first African team to make it the semi-finals. France settled it in the 79th minute when a brilliant dribble of Kylian Mbappé set up Kolo Muani for the 2-0 lead. With this victory, France becomes the first defending champions to reach successive finals since Brazil in 2002 and can now look forward to Sunday's showdown when they will be to follow Brazil and Italy as the third team to retain the title. And as the hearts of millions of fans live the emotions of the Qatar 2022 World Cup, teleSUR joins this sporting event with From the Field, a show that brings news, analysis, reviews, and more to our audience. Don't miss it, our show airs at 1 p.m. local time in Caracas and 12 p.m. New York. Remember, From the Field, only on teleSUR. We have come to the end of this news program. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.